The account you're about to listen to took place at the Kisatchie National Forest in Louisiana back in late December 1999. On camping with her friends, 18-year-old Zara Curshaw wandered off alone into the forest and came face to face with a monster. There, she found herself in a hidden part of the forest, one where few tread willingly and even fewer make it out alive. She was eventually found, collapsed in the forest by the search team, who, on seeing her severe injuries, airlifted her to a hospital. For over 2 decades, she kept quiet about her experience, stating she couldn't remember what happened to her. On recently reading an article about cops rescuing 2 teens from the same forest and their claims of seeing a creature with glowing eyes, she came forward. Time doesn't erase a story. Sometimes all it does is make it stronger. Growing up, I heard stories about Bigfoots and other creatures living in the forest near where I lived. I always thought that people allowed themselves to believe in this stuff because it made the world seem more exciting. These days, people want to see something different. They want to have a one-up on everyone else. Well, it wasn't like that back in 1999. My friends and I didn't go into the woods to find Bigfoot. We went to get drunk and bring in the millennium in style. They always say that you only find something when you're not looking for it. Yeah, turns out that's true, especially in this situation. Something happened to me out there, something involving a monster. Only it isn't what you think. This is my story. And before you judge me, I want you to know that I am a good person, or at least I try to be. Fear is intoxicating. Fear is the reason I kept quiet. Fear has been eating me alive for all this time. It was a cloudy day, and the ground was sodden, and there was a nip to the air. At 17 and 18 years old, we didn't care. This was the last year we'd all be together like this before life got in the way and we filtered out to different colleges. It was my friend, Cole, who suggested we skip town for New Year. He had this theory that the millennium bug was going to fry everyone's tech, so he wanted to get off the grid while this happened. There were 5 of us in total, and for the first day out there, everything went smoothly. We hiked and joked around by the river, we smoked and marveled at the endless trees, ate s'mores around the campfire, swigged cheap spirits, and blasted a Britney song on the portable radio. It was good. Too good. Then the arguing started. Cole's girlfriend, Maria, was upset because he was wasted and goofing about, flirting with one of our other friends. She called him out on it, but he started telling her she was jealous and overreacting. Words were flung about like weapons, and the next thing I knew, Maria swore at Cole and then stormed off into the woods with no flashlight, jacket, or anything. The others didn't seem bothered and said she would be back when she'd had time to cool down. She'd drunk quite a lot, so worrying she'd get lost or fall over, I grabbed a flashlight out of my tent and then went after her, calling her name into the night. As the music started to fade away and the trees seemed to thicken around me, I heard something rustle ahead of me. Through the abundance of leaves, I called out, "Maria, is that you?" "It's okay, it's just Zara." As I stepped forward, my foot slipped down into something and I had to grab onto a tree branch to steady myself. I lowered my flashlight. I moved my foot and I stared at the indent until I could make sense of it. It was a footprint, one at least 3 times the size of mine, and with 5 toe indents. I was trying to figure out what could have caused this when I saw someone step out of the trees. I shone my flashlight on them, and in the artificial light I froze. It wasn't Maria. It was a stranger. He had his hood pulled up so I couldn't see him clearly, but I saw his dirt-stained clothes and the red substance smudged around his mouth and chin. He was holding something in his hand, something that seemed to rattle in the air. I had to squint and adjust the light to make out what it was. An animal trap. The red-tinged metal claws shimmering in the light. He looked directly at me and I felt it. I can't explain it, but he radiated darkness. Neither of us spoke to each other or turned away. It felt like a weird standoff, but I was too afraid to break it first. Then I saw the swaying light behind me, and I heard footsteps. As I saw Cole and Maria merge through the trees, I exhaled in relief. When I stared back at that spot where the hooded man had been, he disappeared. I shone my light on the ground there, muddy footprints and drops of blood. The only proof he'd been there. In his usual joking tone, Cole said, "Geez, you girls are gonna be the death of me." I walked back to camp in silence. I didn't mention seeing the giant footprint or the man with the animal trap to them. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because I didn't want them to tease me. Or maybe it's because words made it seem more real. I woke up in my tent with condensation dripping on my face and my head feeling fuzzy. The events of the previous night seemed to simmer in the back of my thoughts, but before I could stop myself, I packed a backpack and found my feet leading me away from camp as I tried to retrace my steps from the previous night and find that giant footprint and prove to myself that it was real. The trees looked different in daylight, and I struggled to work out if I was going in the right direction or not. In the end, I gave up. I sat amid a group of rocks and I started listening to 9 Inch Nails on my Walkman. As I was sitting there nodding my head to the beat, I swear, I saw something flit through the tree line. It was enough to make me jerk upward, my heartbeat intensifying within my chest. And then I saw it. A towering figure on 2 legs and covered in dark brown fur. Its glowing eyes were staring at me from the trees. Instinct told me to stay deadly still, but it didn't matter as I was frozen in fear anyway. As Trent Reznor's raw voice blasted in my ears, I looked at that thing, not quite believing what I was seeing. Something stepped out in front of me and I raised my Walkman ready to use it as a weapon if I had to. But it wasn't the creature. It was that man from last night. His hood pulled up and the closed animal trap swinging on its chain at his side. But my heart rate didn't slow down. I pressed my hand to my chest and managed to mutter out, "Are you hunting something?" In the daylight, as he looked up at me, I saw the scratches on his face, visible beneath the smudges of blood. A patchwork of scratch marks scarred across his skin in a mixture of old and new. He stepped closer to me, his mouth curling into a smile that crinkled his scars, and in a whisper he said, "Yes, I've found it." In a flash, he lunged forward, pushing me backward onto the rocks, and I heard a crack of bones and my Walkman. Sounds that melded together. Before I could lift myself, I saw him lean over me, a demonic look on his face as he rose the animal trap above me. I croaked out, "Why?" But he didn't answer. I covered my face with my arm as he swung it down onto me, and in an instant my world darkened. Before I opened my eyes, I knew I wasn't outside anymore. I felt a hard wooden floor beneath me, and I sensed the stifling smallness of my surroundings. As soon as I opened my eyes, I wished I could go back to blissful ignorance. I was in a small wooden cabin. Parts of the wood were rotten, and a putrid, damp smell filled the space. I tried to move, but the pain caused a ringing in my ears. I dared to look down and I saw the animal trap attached to my foot, the clawed blade embedded in my ankle, and the chain attached to a metal link on the floor. Seeing it made the pain more real. It infiltrated every inch of me, causing sharp pains to torment my body. Looking away from my bloody, mangled foot, I stared up at the ceiling and immediately wished I hadn't. Hooks hung from it, bloodied and clumped in flesh and dried up, decaying organs. On seeing them, I heard the clinking as they swung gently above me, a draft from one of the many holes in the cabin, the cause of the breeze. The smell of death surrounded me. Flies buzzed all around me and loitered over my wound. I reached out and I touched the floor, my hand pressed on a fingernail with a chipped green polish. I flinched my hand away and I couldn't hold my vomit anymore. It poured out all over me. As soon as the sickness passed, the horror of the room became clearer. I saw a black plastic sheet fluttering on the far side of the room. I heard the clatter within it. It sounded like metal tools being moved or arranged. I held my breath, I gritted my teeth, and I tried prying free the animal trap as I watched the sheet sway. The pain was an electric pulse of agony, so severe I almost blacked out. I knew urgency overruled pain, and I readied myself to try again. I felt lightheaded from the horror of it. Once my blurriness faded, I heard the footsteps, and I saw him. It was the hooded man. He stepped out from the sheet. Blood streaked across his scarred face, a rusty scalpel in his hand. He walked toward me, slowly. So slowly it felt like slow motion. I tried to find the words to beg him to stop this, but they caught like phlegm in my throat. I saw the hunger in his eyes, and suddenly I knew exactly who'd given him those scars. His past victims, the ones whose fingernails scattered the floor, and whose shriveled up organs now hung right above me. He leaned over me, his face so close to mine I smelt his rusty breath. He kicked my trapped ankle, causing a silent scream to leave my mouth and the ringing to intensify inside of my head. The world was still ringing as the side of the cabin fell apart behind me. Rubble and wood tumbled downward, sliding past me and knocking the man to his feet. I saw the fear in his eyes as he saw something behind me. But I didn't dare look, but I realized in the commotion the chain was broken. So I started crawling toward the door. I don't know how I found the means to move, but I dragged myself across the floor of debris. By this point, I was numb from the pain, my surroundings abstract. I heard the muffled growls behind me finally piercing through my ringing mind, and followed by his shrill screams. Blood splattered around me, falling like rain. I didn't look back. I crawled forward, my eyes on that wooden door. It was only as I reached it that I dared look back, that I saw the man's limp arms and lifeless eyes and heard the gnawing sounds. As the creature fed upon him, the creature stopped what it was doing and looked at me with glowing eyes as the fur around its mouth was soaked in blood. I turned away from it and continued crawling. That's all I could do, nothing less and nothing more. I remember the sharp ground transitioning to uneven dirt. Colors lit up the gaps in the sky, silent explosions. It was New Year's Eve, but the gloom ruled over me. And that's when I gave in to the pain and I closed my eyes. Across Louisiana, Bigfoot sightings are still reported. These towering creatures with brown fur and giant feet and glowing eyes remain a myth, one built upon foundations of fact. For Zara Curshaw, there is no doubt that they do exist and they aren't the real monsters. She credits her life to one and regrets staying quiet for so long. When she was found by a search team deep in the forest with extensive injuries, she told them she couldn't remember what happened to her. Only, she did remember. Sometimes the fear of our own reality and the altercations of being believed or not interfere with what's right. But one thing's for sure, monsters live among us, but they are not always as they seem. For more scary and horror stories, please subscribe.